You might think that Luke 5 is a story about fish, but if you look closely, the fish are not the focus. The focus is Peter. Jesus tells Peter, launch out into the deep. The Greek word is bathos. It means depth, the deep place, the unfathomable place, the place beyond what can be easily measured, controlled, or understood. And that is where Jesus takes Peter. Not into deep water, into a deeper revelation. Peter had been fishing all night. No fish, no breakthrough, no results. And that's important because Peter was not a beginner. He was a professional fisherman. He knew the water. He knew the currents. He knew the patterns. He knew where fish were supposed to be. After an entire night of work, Peter had reached a conclusion. There are no fish. Then Jesus says something unexpected. Launch out into the deep. And then cast your nets again. Now think about what Jesus is asking. This isn't one fisherman giving advice to another fisherman. This is a carpenter telling a professional fisherman how to fish. Peter has more experience. Peter has more evidence. He has spent the entire night proving that this should not work. Everything Peter knows says this is pointless. But Peter answers, nevertheless, at your word. And that may be one of the greatest statements of faith in the entire New Testament. Not because Peter understands, not because Peter agrees, not because Peter can explain it, but because he trusts the one speaking. So Peter lowers the net one more time, and suddenly everything changes. The nets begin to fill. Fish everywhere. So many fish that the nets begin to break and the boat begins to sink. The fishermen are overwhelmed, and that's the moment most people focus on. The fish, the abundance, the miracle. But Luke immediately shifts our attention somewhere else. Peter falls to his knees and says, depart from me, Lord, for I am a sinful man. Why? Because the miracle revealed something. Not about the lake, not about the fish, about Peter. The deep exposed something hidden beneath the surface. His limitations, his weakness, his need, his inability to control the outcome. The miracle wasn't primarily a fishing miracle. It was a heart-revealing miracle. Peter thought Jesus was showing him where the fish were. Jesus was showing Peter who Peter was. And isn't that often how God works? Sometimes he takes us beyond the limits of our own understanding, beyond the limits of our own abilities, our own strength, not to shame us or embarrass us, but to reveal our need for him. The Hebrew scriptures contain a fascinating parallel. In Genesis 1:2, before creation appears, darkness is upon the face of the deep. The Hebrew word is tahom, the deep, the place where human sight ends and God's power begins. Throughout Scripture, God repeatedly moves in the deep places, the places beyond human control, the places where there is no obvious answer, the places where only He can provide one. Peter has already exhausted everything he knew to do, and that's exactly where Jesus stepped in. Because as long as Peter could explain the outcome, Peter could take the credit. But once the nets overflowed, once the boats began to sink, and the catch became impossible, there was only one explanation left. God had stepped into the boat. And that is the blueprint within. The miracle was never really about fish. The fish got Peter's attention, but Peter was always the miracle Jesus was after. The fish were the bait, but Peter was the catch.